Hey everyone, today for math, we're going to continue to work on the same learning target that we started on Monday. That learning target is I can use a ruler to measure objects and lengths to the nearest 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch. When we talk about fourths, we can also call them quarters. So I can say I have 1/4 of an inch, or I can say I have 1/4 of an inch. Either way you want to say it works. But we write it the same way, 1/4. This first ruler, I'm noticing, has whole numbers 1 through 12. But I'm also noticing that there's little tally marks in between each whole number. So if I look at just 1 inch, I see that the first inch is divided into 2 parts. When we have a whole that's partitioned or cut into 2 parts, we say that we have halves. So here's a half and here's a half. If I were to label the fractions underneath, I could put 1/2 right under this first tally mark. So 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, and I would keep going. But notice this ruler down here. These two are not the same. I do see that there are still only whole numbers, 1 through 12. But if I were to look at the first whole inch, I would see that the first inch is partitioned or cut into 4 equal pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4. And when I have a whole cut into 4 equal pieces, I know that the fraction I'm going to be working with is 1/4. So that underneath this first line, I could write 1/4. Underneath the second line, I could write 2/4. Underneath the third line, I could write 3/4. And underneath this, well, this is just a whole number, so I don't need to rewrite a fraction. But what happens when I go past a whole number? I'll get a whole number and a fraction. So if I have an object that is this long on my ruler, I'll have 1 and 1/4. This long, 1 and 2/4. This long, 1 and 3/4. And this long, it would just be 2 inches. So each little jump I do would be another fourth. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, and so on. Today, for math, we are going to be measuring inchworms. So I have some inchworms here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inchworms, and their names are up here. And we're going to do some work to figure out how long these inchworms are. So up first is Alex. I'm going to line Alex up. He should start here at 0. And I'm looking to see where he ends. He ends right here. And I have a whole number here. So I know immediately that Alex is 1 whole inch long. 1 inch long. He's just 1 inchworm. Up next is Maria. I'm going to line Maria up the same way I did Alex. I'm going to start him at 0. And the very left side of the ruler indicates where 0 is. So I see that Maria is 1 whole inch plus a little bit. But what is that little bit? Well, we talked about when 1 inch is cut into 4 equal pieces, we're working with the fraction 1/4. So I have 1 whole inch and 1/4. 1 inch plus 1/4. So altogether, I would say that I have 1 1/4 inches. So we can say that Maria is longer than Alex. Let's do Jennifer next. Jennifer is really long. She's made up of all green blocks. Let's look at the ruler. She's past 1 inch, 1 whole inch. She's past 2 whole inches. So I'm going to indicate my inches. 1 inch, 2 inches, 1 inch, plus another inch. And then I have these 2 little jumps. And these little jumps were jumps of 1/4 of an inch. So if I were to add up all of my lengths, I would get 2 whole inches and 2/4. 2 whole inches and 2/4. If you're recognizing an equivalent fraction, I'm very proud of you right now. We can also say that Jennifer is 2 1/2. 2 1/2 because she is directly in between or halfway in between 2 and 3. I'm going to move Jennifer up here. And then we're going to measure Marco. I'm going to line Marco up just like how I did with everybody else. And I see that he's bigger than 1 whole inch, but smaller than 2 whole inches. So I'm going to measure my first inch plus 1 inch. And I have 3 little jumps, 1, 2, and 3. And each little jump is 1/4. 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. So how many fourths do I have? I have 1, 2, 3/4. So altogether, Marco is 1 3/4 inches long. 1 3/4 inches long. I'm going to move him up here. And my last inchworm that I need to measure is Josh. And Josh is huge. I'm going to line him up. Let's move him down a little bit. So I see that he's past 1 whole inch, past 2 whole inches, past 3 whole inches. He's not quite yet at 4. So 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, and I'm going to label everything that I just did. 1 inch, plus another inch, plus another inch. And I see that I have 3 little jumps. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, those weren't perfectly even, but I hope you can see that each little jump is a 4th. So all together I have 3 inches, 3 3/4 inches. Josh is 3 3/4 inches long. I'm going to move Josh over here. And he kind of doesn't fit because he's so long. So if I were to ask you, who is the longest inchworm, who would you say? Alex is 1 inch. Maria is 1 1/4 inches. Jennifer is 2 2/4 or 2 1/2. Marco is 1 3/4 inches. Josh is 3 3/4 inches. If you said Josh, you are correct. And the smallest inchworm would be Alex. Alex is the smallest. So now, for your independent work, you're going to be measuring some of George's animals. How long and how tall are some of the animals that we have in Georgia? We have black bears in Georgia, we have red foxes, we have raccoons. So you're going to be measuring some animals. And if you come to our Zoom session tonight at 5 o'clock, you're going to be measuring some things that go or belong in Georgia's ocean habitat. So I hope to see you in the Zoom session tonight at 5, and good luck with your assignment.